From the Dallas Mavericks considering a blockbuster deal to snag Miles Turner, to the Golden State Warriors possibly trading away future promise for immediate returns, these are the NBA trade rumors that will leave fans shocked. As the championship showdown is underway, with 4 teams still vying for the crown, the rest of the squads are already in off-season mode, plotting their strategies to return stronger next season. After the NBA draft lottery, the picking order is now clear for the teams at the top. The draft class this year is brimming with talent, yet not all teams are eager to retain their picks. The well-known sports news site Bleacher Report has recently suggested several blockbuster trade scenarios where some lottery picks could be swapped for proven star power. We'll dissect each of these proposed trades, assess their feasibility, discuss who stands to gain the most, and why each team might or might not consider the deal. We'll also jump into some juicy transfer gossip and some of the other massive trade scenarios heating up for the NBA. Now, let's dive into the first proposed trade. The Orlando Magic and the Chicago Bulls may engage in a trade where the Magic could acquire Zach LaVine in return for Gary Harris, Jonathan Isaac, Jalen Suggs, and this year's 11th pick. The two teams appear to be on diverging paths. The Bulls, having plateaued at a middling level, might look to shed players, while the Magic, a youthful squad on the upswing, could use an extra push to make it to the playoffs. The Magic's young core already demonstrates a solid mix of defensive prowess and playmaking ability. The team could enhance their competitiveness by adding LaVine, a proven all-star scorer. However, the proposed package might not be enough to entice the Bulls to part ways with a player of LaVine's caliber. The Magic may have to include more draft assets or give up one of their most promising young players to land LaVine. Considering his contract extends until 2026 and that other teams may put forward more enticing offers. The second trade scenario involves the Portland Trail Blazers and the Toronto Raptors. The Trail Blazers could receive Pascal Siakam in exchange for Anthony Simmons, Nasir Little, Keon Johnson, and this year's 3rd draft pick. After moving up to the 3rd pick in the lottery, the Blazers find themselves with a range of appealing options. Their star player, Damian Lillard, is reportedly determined to stay in Portland and build a winning team there, preferring to avoid a youth-oriented rebuilding process. If the Raptors decide to enter a rebuilding phase themselves, having recently fired coach Nick Nurse, then Siakam becomes their most valuable trade asset. This deal seems to favor both sides. The Raptors would receive an exciting young scorer in Simmons and possibly a potential franchise cornerstone with the 3rd pick, while the Blazers would acquire an all-star with championship experience in Siakam. The next trade idea suggests the deal between the Washington Wizards and the Toronto Raptors. The Wizards might get Fred VanVleet in a sign-and-trade deal, with the Raptors receiving Daniel Gafford, Johnny Davis, Isaiah Todd, and the 8th pick in this year's draft. The Raptors are potential candidates for a rebuild, and VanVleet may facilitate a sign-and-trade deal that ensures the Raptors get something in return for him. The Wizards need a point guard, and VanVleet's championship experience could be just the ticket for a team lacking in that department. However, given VanVleet's down year, the Wizards might not have to give up as much as suggested in a sign-and-trade deal. The Raptors, having no leverage in this scenario, might have to accept less than a top 10 pick in this year's valuable draft. Moving on to the potential exchange between the Dallas Mavericks and the Indiana Pacers. Under this suggestion, the Mavericks might procure the talents of Miles Turner, swapping Davis Bertans, Jaden Hardy, and their 10th pick in the current year's draft. Talk about a huge move. Despite a bold move to acquire Kyrie Irving at the trade deadline, the Mavericks ended their season in a disappointingly disastrous manner. The key takeaway was the team's glaring deficiency in defense, particularly their lack of an imposing presence in the paint. This is precisely where Miles Turner shines. His reputation for effective rim protection has constantly placed him among the top players in the league in terms of blocks per game and defended field goal percentage at the rim. Moreover, Turner's offensive capabilities would complement Luka Doncic as well. Turner is an adept pick-and-roll and pick-and-pop option, with the added bonus of being able to extend the floor to the three-point line and run in transition. As Turner has frequently been a part of trade discussions, the Mavericks seem like a viable destination for him. Jaden Hardy has exhibited promising glimpses of his scoring abilities in the past season, but he would likely have more room to grow in Indiana. Naturally, the top 10 pick would be a highly sought-after asset for the Pacers as they rebuild their squad. From the fans' perspective, this seems like a fairly balanced deal for both parties involved. Turner's acquisition cost may prove to be slightly more demanding, which could mean the Mavs would need to include a few second-round picks to seal the deal. However, in the grand scheme of things, it appears that this trade could cater to the needs of both teams quite effectively. Moving on from lottery picks, let's get into some of the other juicy NBA transfer rumors coming down the grapevine. Starting with the Charlotte Hornets' number 2 pick. Given that the number 1 pick appears to be a sure shot for Victor Wembanyama by the San Antonio Spurs, other top-drawer prospects such as Scoot Henderson, Brandon Miller, and Amen Thompson also populate the draft pool, leading to a game of strategic movements as teams jostle to climb up the order or trade their draft capital for seasoned players who can contribute instantly. The Portland Trail Blazers, holding the number 3 pick, are a team to watch in this narrative. Their general manager, Joe Cronin, expressed a clear desire to expedite the team's evolution rather than embrace a sluggish rebuilding process. With the franchise committed to leveraging its assets for the sake of winning in Damian Lillard's prime, it's highly plausible that the Blazers could trade the number 3 pick, along with Anthony Simmons, for a high-caliber small forward. However, securing an elite forward may prove more complicated in practice than in theory. Names like DeMar DeRozan or OG Anunoby are thrown into the conversation. But complementing Lillard with enough quality to contend would necessitate additional movements. Speaking of potential trades, Mikal Bridges of the Brooklyn Nets has surfaced as a potential target for the Blazers. However, it seems this scenario is unlikely to materialize. The Nets, owing unprotected picks to Houston in the near future, have little reason to dismantle the roster and start anew. Bridges, with an impressive average of 26.1 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 2.7 assists in 27 games this past season, appears to be more valuable as a pillar in Brooklyn's plan moving forward. With a favorable 4-year, $90.9 million contract, would require an offer that significantly boosts the Nets' competitive edge. A highly improbable event, to say the least. Let's shift focus to the Golden State Warriors, who are at an intriguing juncture after a second-round playoff exit. Despite their veteran trio of Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green still functioning effectively, the team needs to enhance its depth to revisit its former glory. This could prompt a rare inversion of the usual development strategy, moving younger players to reinforce the squad with experienced performers. Jonathan Kuminga and Jordan Poole have been tossed into the trade rumor mill, with indications that at least one might be moved. Kuminga, despite his limited impact during the playoffs, still holds trade value, and there remains a strong level of interest in Kuminga around the league. The challenge for the Warriors lies in translating that interest into a productive return, potentially securing a proven role player to bolster their lineup. Thus, the 2023 NBA Draft carries with it not only the excitement of new talent entering the league, but also the intrigue of potential trades that could significantly impact the upcoming season and beyond. It will be fascinating to see how these stories unfold. So, from the audacious idea of the Warriors considering a trade for Jonathan Kuminga, to the Mavericks eyeing a radical roster transformation with a Miles Turner deal, those were the NBA trade rumors that will leave fans shocked.